Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and I am so excited today to be joined by none other than the legendary Lin Shaye, who stars in one of the recently released films, House of Abraham, where you play the role of Beatrice. Lin, I don't think you need much of an introduction because I think many of our readers and watchers will know you from the many of horror films you starred in and films in general you've been in. So thank you so much for spending some time to speak with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Believe me, I love talking.
Oh, well, good. Well, I love asking and listening, so
Okay.
it's kismet. Um, Now, first questions first for you, Lynn. House of Abraham just released on Friday. Congratulations on the film getting out there. I'm curious to know kind of how you got involved with Lucas and Natasha and Lisa, all the team behind the film.
I didn't know Lisa at all, but I did know Lucas. And sort of for years, we've just kind of we actually did a movie called The Black Room years ago, and so was Natasha was in it also. So it was kind of a mini reunion. But Lisa, I did not know. And I've always had a lot of regard for Lucas. He's really an incredibly gifted guy. I mean, he's a writer, a director, an actor. I mean, I think there's nothing he couldn't do and probably doesn't do. So when I they asked me if I would take a look at the script, and I found the script fascinating because it's a taboo subject that
Very.
people don't really discuss at the coffee table. It's a very um, private topic. I think people there are very few people who haven't at some point in their life either felt something like that or know people who have. And so it's also a very universal subject. And I think that's really, that was an exciting premise to do a film and to express something about that theme.
Yeah, I mean, I think I told both Lucas and Lisa and Natasha that it is a sensitive topic that isn't often talked about and taken, I'd say, with the level of grace perhaps the film gives it, because it doesn't necessarily make a judgment on people that are looking at end of life care so much as it uses it as a vehicle to talk about how bad people can do bad things upon the most vulnerable of us. So I really
It's,
appreciated that walking that line quite nicely.
it was beautifully said. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
agree.
mean, and it's and as you think about the role of Beatrice, you play such an interesting role here in kind of support of Abraham. Um, and we don't get, too much in regards to kind of your background either. So how did you prepare for this role, knowing that you're kind of playing somewhat of an ancillary role to Abraham, but you have your own reasons and history for being there?
I think that's part of my job, first of all, as the character, because she wasn't given that much information in the story, but it had to be a love affair I was wanting. I'm in love with him and have probably had a very bleak. My sort of backstory is perhaps I had wanted to commit suicide and he talked me out of it, and I felt deeply, I would do anything for him because he saved me.
Right.
He's truly my savior. And also there's all kinds of complicated desire for love, affection, recognition. And she's literally, I became like a little puppy dog to him. Um, and I remember kind of because he's so tall, also there's that thing of looking up, and I was very short of going. And I for wardrobe, I wanted to be very small, like to keep because I am little and to begin with, and especially with the size of Lucas. And I remember asking for flat shoes because I wanted to have like a padding, like like a little padding thing as she walks. So very slowly, it sort of started to evolve. And the daisy and the hairdo, it's all about pleasing him. It's all about
Yeah.
wanting love, which is probably what every role ever written is really about
Yeah, at
on
the
some
deepest
level.
level.
Really, I mean, that, and I always try, that's something I go to. I mean, what are you really needing from this person? And that's a very primitive and sort of beginning question an actor has to ask when they're doing a character is what does this person need? What are they missing? What do they want? That's the classic actors. What do you want in this scene? What do you want in this line? It's always asking, what do you want back? So that was kind of how it developed, I think.
And it's so interesting too, because everyone else in the film has their why, right? Their why for being there is very explicit. Even Abraham's why is very much about, the supposed at least is this is a more of an altruistic endeavor. and everyone else has their reasons. And so it is, it's nice to hear that one, how you approach the roles about how do I understand what this character truly wants, but also how necessary that was for this role because there isn't as much of that why for Beatrice, but we still get so much of that kind of subservient relationship that you've talked about between her and Lucas and it's her and Abraham. And it's fascinating too because you'd almost, you feel bad for Beatrice. You keep thinking to yourself, is there something that we don't know about her and Abraham that we need to know to understand this dynamic because he's, so hot and cold with her. Did you find, you've been doing this a very long time. So do you find that it is difficult to kind of snap in and out of those moments of kind of being in complete, shock and terror when you're being scolded, and then also kind of snapping into being more aggressive and somewhat violent as you did get to be in this film?
I think, that's something as an actor, you try and develop that skill. A couple, lots of people have made that comment about who was she, really to know more about Beatrice. And it was actually my idea, the sort of love affair idea, which was very strong in my mind, but and maybe in retrospect, it would have been good to have a single line about when I came and you helped me, so that
Right.
we know, because that's sort of the scenario I built, is that she had probably wanted to commit suicide and that he convinces her not to, and she's that personality and that needy human being that latches on like a monkey, to whoever's going to look at her in the eyes. It's like a dog, like when
Yeah,
you give a
exactly.
dog, something, and they're
The
suddenly
puppy eyes.
the puppy eyes. Yeah, I saw him could do no wrong, and I would do anything he asked me. Anything, anything. There was nothing I wouldn't do for Lucas and for Abraham.
And
So
it
that opened.
shows. Yeah. I mean, it shows in the film. I mean, it really is. There are moments when I think I felt myself questioning, why does she do this for him? What is in it for her? But at the
Well, the
same time,
mutilation. I mean, not to cut you off, but there's that moment. I was trying to think of that word that she, when there's that scene uh, I'm just losing my thought here with
mutilation.
yeah, with the mutilation scene with the razor blades. Um, that was just that's crazy. That was with Marvel, as I was couldn't just with Marvel Rex, who did a fantastic job, I thought, also of suffering. And and he was open. He was wildly game to do anything because we really did, we put all this stuff like salt on his body, even with no real wounds, but pretend wounds. But she was literally rubbing salt into the wounds, to prove her point. So there was nothing. She would go to the lengths of the world, to please her Abraham.
And it makes for such an interesting turn between the two of you as you guys are on screen. You both are on screen together. And I think and the fact that we don't know all that much, it doesn't necessarily work in disservice of the film so much as it does make you kind of begging for more. And I think that's what a great film leaves you wanting, for, not so much wanting for something essential, but wanting to know more, to kind of be more immersed into it. And one of the other questions I kind of thought of was I was thinking, is the roles you play, and you've run the gamut of different roles you play, whether you're on the good side, you're on the kind of antagonistic side of things. Do you find that you have a preference or any that you kind of prefer to play as far as the more the good or the bad folks on screen?
Not really. I mean, I love playing all different kinds of people. I mean, that's what keeps it fascinating for me too. Um, one thing I've noticed is because I think it was because of Elise and Insidious that I was good with lots of long dialogue. So a lot of times I'll get these scripts and there's like, of exposition. I'm not, I have to do it if if I'm doing the job, but I don't really enjoy that so much. I mean, I like interaction and I like action, rather than being the storyteller. Because I want the action to tell story rather than to me,
Right.
giving sometimes these long speeches. They're really difficult to do also, to make them interesting. So, but in terms of content and in terms of, one thing over another, I love acting. I love discovering the needs of different people when I realize they're all my needs too. You
Oh,
really have to investigate your own. your own psyche to be able to deliver something that's honest and real. I think I feel one of the luckiest people on the planet to be an actor. I really, because you really can investigate yourself in a way most people don't and never will. They don't, because they have other people they have to answer to. This is
Right.
about you're answering to the world, basically, almost whatever we're all feeling together. It's a very inclusive and very exciting um, venue to express yourself. So I go as deep as I can and tell the most truth I have that's good for me and good for you guys to see.
It is. And, I love that you mentioned that there is a need for self-awareness to really give yourself over to a role, because I think that the best performances are ones where you know the character so intimately, and the only way to arrive at that understanding is to know oneself. So, Lynn, I know I'm up on my time with you today. I could probably talk to you for hours, but just wanted to say thank you so much for spending some time to chat with me. And I want to remind everyone watching this that you can watch House of Abraham in theaters, coming very soon to VOD. And looking forward to whatever you're in next, Lynn. Again, we're huge fans here of you, Macabre Daily.
Thank you, Matt. You great questions. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I guess I could have talked for a long, a long time too. So here's to the next one. Thank
Yes,
you
yes,
so
it's
much.
not goodbye. It's just so long for now. But
See you later.
take care, Lynn.